Our first session's topic name is Masterclass on NPCI Technology Landscape. Our speaker is Mr. Sateesh Palagiri, Chief Mobility Solution NPCI. Please join me in welcoming him with a round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. So welcome to GFF 2025. I would like to take you through a journey where from NPCI being a system operator or payment system operator to an organization building citizen scale payment systems, right? So we started our operations in 2010, like IDRBT handed over National Financial Switch to NPCI. So from there we started our journey. And in 2010, we launched immediate payment service, right? That is how we started our journey. So we followed the same ISO 8583, the standards were there. We just added a few elements here and there. Time to market, the new service to be launched. So we launched IMPS and then we launched AEPS the coming year. From there, we launched RuPay, our own RuPay brand card. And then in 2014-15, right, that is where the major shift has happened, right? From where we moved from the proprietary solutions to building our own solutions, right? Now we started thinking about how to develop new solutions, and then we moved to API-based messaging from ISO 8583 to API-based messaging. And then after that, you know the story. Like now we have launched UPI in 2016, and then 2017 we launched our own Beam app. We launched UPI 2.0 with more richer features. We launched Lite, UPI Lite, and all. So the story continues, right? So the numbers talk about themselves. 114 million transactions till now in the financial year 2025-26. We are talking about 686 banks, and then there are more than 120 mobile app providers, right? This is all possible by like the progressive regulator that we have, who is always watching and who is actually providing all the support from the regulatory support, right? And also like we have total user base of around 508 million customers, and then more than 50 plus million merchants. The year-on-year growth has been very steep. If you see, like 24-25 till now we have processed 140 million, and then last month we clocked like 19.63 billion transactions in a month. So what exactly goes behind, right? That is what we want to talk about. Like, for example, each transaction is having around 10 to 12 API calls, right? There are 4 different parties involved. There are 2 different mobile apps involved, the sender and the receiver, and then there is a debit bank and a credit bank. So, and then we have our own fraud risk solution engine, like every transaction goes through the engine, right? And also there are HSM translations. So we have around 10 to 12 API calls per transaction. And there are multiple messages exchanged with the banks, and around at evening time around 6 to 9 we get around 20,000 TPS average, like 17 to 18,000 TPS average, and peak goes up to 24,000 transactions, right? So we are talking about 240K messages per second. That is what is SSL offloadings that we do, right? Transactions per month 20 billion. Per day we are clocking around like 700 million transactions is what we process. P99 latency is like around 100 milliseconds. The benchmark that we do is like for every message that is coming in, not even the transaction we are talking about, for every message that comes in, we process in less than 100 milliseconds, right? The message comes in, you do the processing, and then you send to the next entity. Real-time fraud engine. So we have a fraud risk engine in line with the online system, right? Every transaction goes through the fraud risk solution, and then we have given a 2-second timeout, and then if the solution is not able to process, we just move on with the transaction, informing the bank that we were not able to calculate the risk score, right? But that timeouts are like 0.0001%, right? And then what happens is every transaction, we have 2 different sets of rules, right? When we have static set of rules, there are static set of rules, value, volume, those kind of things, and then we have multiple fraud AI models that are working. Around 20 to 25 models are working on the UPI data only. And then what we are looking at is 75 millisecond to 100 millisecond for the models to execute and give the score back. Now, our online system depends on the score that is coming from the static and dynamic rules, makes a decision whether transaction has to further go through or we have to decline the transaction. This is what the online system does, right? 686 member banks, 4 data centers. We have 4 data centers. We have 2 in Chennai, 1 in Hyderabad, and 1 in Mumbai. all of them are working active. At any given point of time, 25% of transactions are processed per data center, right? At any given point of time, even if 3 data centers goes down, we actually run from 1 data center. In a month, we make sure that couple of days or 5 days, we run from a single data center for any eventuality, even so the service cannot get impacted, right? That is the thought process. So averaging at 17,000 TPS, like, it peak at times goes to 24,000 TPS. We have built completely the systems that we built after 2015, right? You talk about UPI, Bharat Bill Payment System, toll collection system, all the systems we have built in open source. We have not took any commercial softwares, or we have not gone with the commercial softwares, completely open source. I'll go through the journey. So these are all the open source softwares that we use. Community versions, we don't normally go for enterprise, but we take support from partners, who can give us per ticket basis support. We normally depend on the community. Our teams does it, and then if we are not able to find out, right, some issue comes in and we are not able to, we depend on the community. If community also, this is an insurance, as an insurance, we actually take partners who actually support us on ticket basis, right, if we are not able to resolve. The QR revolution, you all know. So how did the QR take over? There is no acquiring infrastructure required. You don't need a point of sale, or you don't need a soft POS. All you need is a paper QR, right? The smallest of the merchants you can see in the market, they are having the small QRs where the scan is done, and then that gave innovation to sound boxes and all that. In the market you will see sound boxes. So whenever a transaction is done by scanning a QR or paper QR, the merchant is actually getting, the sound is coming out saying that, okay, you have got so much money. So he need not even go to his feature phone and open and see the messages, right? One is trust already, even if you show, okay, I've got it, right? Second is always the sound box telling you, what exactly, how much amount he has got and all that, right? That is what actually increased the merchant, confidence on the system, right? Both dynamic QR and static QRs are always. Static QRs is the paper QRs that you stick around and then just scan and pay it. On the point of sale and soft POS and all that, banks have integrated the dynamic QRs where the amount and everything is populated along with the security within the QR. And then the app, whichever scans it, actually able to identify that, okay, the right entity has created this QR, right? And that is how the adoption has increased, and also the security has been implemented, right? 697 million QRs in the market. Each merchant has 2-3 QRs today. If you see in the market, so there are more than 697 million QRs that are deployed in the market. So when we started in 2010, right? So ITRBT gave us this solution, which was developed by partners like FIS and Euronet, who were our partners at that time. And then we were just running the system. We were just operating the system, right? We had technical expertise only up to the know-how of running it, right? And we were heavily dependent on partners, fully dependent on third-party solutions. We were just the operator of the solution, zero control over technology, because these are all the Euronet solution was on IBM. Later we came to FIS solution. These are all very interlocked, right? And we had very limited scope actually to even expand also. The only thing at that point of time, what was that? Uptime was our motto, and then also how do we scale to the next level? That was the thought process, right? So the next 3-4 years, that is how we ran. Then we started to think about in 2014-15, we started to think about when we wanted, when we ran the systems for 3-4 years, we understood what kind of problems we have, what kind of dependency we have on partners, right? Being a national critical infrastructure, we wanted to be independent, right? We don't want to depend on third parties. It's not the dependency, but we have a lot of technology partners who work with us. It's not kind of being a national critical infrastructure. We didn't want to lot of dependency, right, on any single partner, on any single software, right? So that is when we thought of saying that whatever the systems we built after 2015, our thought process was that, okay, we should build our own systems, right? We take technology partners to build it, but thought process is ours, architecture is ours, right? And then we move forward. And we started embracing engineering culture. When you say engineering culture, we thought about thinking now, how do you build a new system? How are we going to make it scalable, right? How we are going to make sure that it is up all the time? These are the design principles that we followed. We wanted control over code, whatever the code that is getting developed, we wanted control over it, right? You don't want to depend on a licensed software and then tomorrow something happens to that organization. What would happen to business? What would happen to the services that we are giving to the common man, right? Second is population scale. Anything that we develop, we make sure that it is up to the population scale. Today we have benchmarked UPA for 100,000 TPS, and then the next benchmark is already in progress that we want to do it for 200 to 50,000 TPS, right? Today in the evening time we are hitting around 25,000 TPS as of today, right? So we already have capacitated the system up to 5x. But we are also looking at, like, we constantly look at, like, what improvements can we get in the system, right? That 100 millisecond, how do we make it 50? How do we make it 25, right? The latency times, right? That will improve the overall system, the overall transaction time. Like today we process around 95% of the transactions in less than 3 seconds time, right? The remaining business declines, or you talk about, like, timeouts and those kind of things. But 95% of UPI transactions happen in less than 3 seconds. End-to-end transaction. I'm talking about all those 10 API calls that we spoke about. It happens in less than 3 seconds.